Hi boys and girls. I hope you're having a great beach week. I am so sorry I haven't been doing my real circle times this week, but today life is back to normal and we're going to do a fun one today. We are talking about the CH sound. And I know most of you are practicing different sounds this week. Everybody's working on something a little bit different. But to remind you, from our board over here, we know that when we have C and H together, it says ch, ch, ch. So here's my uppercase CH, and here's my lowercase CH. If we take the H away, it just says k, k. Or sometimes C says S, the S sound. And if I just had my H here, it would just say but something magical happens when those two letters go together, then it becomes a whole new sound. Ch, 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 ch. I can't find my card to show you the picture of the mouth doing it, so you'll have to do with just my mouth. Ch, ch. Before we work on our sounds, I want you to come with me and see what I saw at the beach last weekend.
Let's take a look around the beach. I see a plane flying in the sky. I see people with umbrellas. There's the waves. And there's more people this way with all of their umbrellas and their tents and their coolers and their blankets. Let's see what we can find by the water. To find seashells when you're at the beach is the line of seaweed where the waves have stopped going. So we'll walk along and we'll see if we can find anything good. Oh look, I found something. This is a jingle shell. You know, when we play our shell bingo, these are the ones that you can hold in your hand. If you have a bunch of them and you shake your hands, they go jingle, jingle, jingle. Found a shell in the water. Let's pick it up and see what it is. Oh, that's pretty. That's a pretty shell. Oh, look, somebody's playing in the sand and they built a sand castle. It's fun to stand out in the waves, too. Whoa. Don't worry, I'm watching for fins. Just kidding, there's no sharks here. There's only floats and boogie boards and some boats way out there. The water's nice and warm today. By something right where the waves are crashing. Can you see it? Let me get closer. Can you see it now? It's a cockle shell. Look at that boy playing in the sand. He's made himself a really big hole. Where'd he go? Oh, there he is. He's digging a giant hole in the beach. Do you like to do that when you go to the beach? Oh, there he goes again. He's gone. Now he's back. So much fun.
Did you like walking on the beach with me? That was so much fun, wasn't it? The videos that you saw of me, the very short ones of just me reading a book on the beach, were also filmed that day. Ba, wa, t, d, s, z, sh, j, ch, j, y, k, g, a, e, I, a. Last Saturday morning, I decided to get up really early and go to the beach to film our circle times for Beach Week. So we drove all the way to the beach and I picked a beach that's usually really quiet. And I got there early in the morning and set up my beach umbrella and the beach chairs, and then we filmed some circle times and I went on a walk And then we had to leave because the beach was getting really crowded and we're not supposed to be around people right now. And my husband wasn't feeling well at all. So we headed home. But before we did, I got to spend some nice time reading stories to you in the sun and hunting for things on the beach with you. I didn't find a lot that day. That beach that I went to was not a good beach for finding things. But I'm going to show you now some things that I have found on other beach trips. Let's see what I have in my pail. I find all kinds of fun treasures at the beach. This is one of my favorite things to find, and I have to be very, very careful holding it. This is a crab shell. Isn't that cool? It's from a crab called a calico crab, but it looks like leopard spots, doesn't it? And this is the shell of a crab. Obviously, I didn't take the crab when he was alive. He just left his shell on the beach for me to find. I even have a little teeny tiny one in here. See that one? It's a little itty bitty. Something else that I love to find at the beach are these. Does anybody know what that's called? That's right, it's a sand dollar. Sand dollars are really fun to find. This one still has sand on it, doesn't it? Let's see what else is in my beach pail. I always love to find seashells. The beach I went to last weekend didn't really have many seashells on it, but this is one I found in a different trip, and this is called a tulip shell. Isn't it pretty? What else is in here? Oh, I love these shells too. These shells are so pretty white, and they are called angel wings. Let me show you two together and you can see why they're called angel wings. If I put them like this, can you see why they're called angel wings? Isn't that neat? They are so pretty. This one needs to be cleaned up a little bit. What else do I have in my pail? Let's see if I have anything else exciting. Here's another type of seashell. This one's called a paper fig. Those are very pretty too. And this one, you'll love the name of this one. This shell is from a moon snail, and it's called a shark's eye. Doesn't it look like an eye right there? A shark's eye. These are fun to find. This one's pretty big. This is something else I found that's really cool. It looks like a shell and it feels kind of like wood. It's called an operculum. And what happens with a big shell, like one of the ones behind me, is the animal that lives in these shells actually has a door attached to it. See the door there? So what happens is when the animal gets scared and sees something that's, or senses something harmful, they go back in their shell and they shut the door. So this is actually an operculum from a shell, probably not much smaller than this shell that I have here. Isn't that cool? It's really fun to find those. This is a cool treasure. Does anybody know what this is the skeleton of? Has our sound in it. It's from a sea urchin. See that? Isn't that so neat? A sea urchin usually has spines on it. Looks like a bunch of hundreds of needles sticking out. And the ones we find in Florida are usually purplish in color. But all the spines are off of this one. And this is actually, it's called a sea urchin test. But really, it's just the sea urchin's skeleton. And they're very delicate, so you have to hold them very carefully. If you ever find one, don't squeeze it tight because it will just crumble in your fingers. All right, here's another shark's eye I found. This eye looks different than the last one. They kind of say it looks like the eye of a shark. I think that's why they call it a shark's eye. Here's a piece of coral that I found. It looks like a rock, and this broke apart from the reef and washed ashore. and now it just feels like a rock and it doesn't look very exciting. But once upon a time, this was part of a coral reef that actually lives and breathes and eats. And then when it breaks off, it just washes up on the beach and becomes almost like a rock. That's a piece of coral. That's always fun to find. And I'll show you something really cool. This shell right here, see how bright and orange and pretty it is? It's actually a baby shell of one of these. It's a baby horse conch. Here, I'll turn it around so you can see the opening too. Don't they look alike? Let me turn it this way so you can see. There's a baby horse conch and a big horse conch. They're really fun, and it's very exciting when you find these at the beach. Usually you just see one of the little knuckles sticking up out of the sand, and you say, oh, I bet that's a bigger shell. And then you have to dig, 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 dig. And then you have to, the most exciting part is turning it over to check to see if there's an animal inside. If there's an animal inside, it goes back in the water very gently. But if it's empty, you can bring it home. Let's read our story. It's about the beach. The name of our book is called The Sand Castle Contest. Does it have a CH in the title? Listen for ch, ch, ch. The Sand Castle Contest. Did I say ch? No, you're right, I didn't. But I do see a giant sand castle on the cover. And yes, there is a C. You're right, I heard you. Somebody caught that there's a C in the title. That's the start of the word castle. But is there an H after it? No, that's the letter A. Tricked me too for a second. All right, the author is Robert Munsch. He also wrote the book Love You Forever. Some of you may have that at home. That's a great book. So he also, this is the guy that wrote the book about the smelly socks. Some of you may remember that book that we read about the girl who loved her socks so much that she never took them off, and they got so stinky that her friends carried her to the river and washed her socks, threw her in the river and washed her feet and her socks right in the river because her feet were so stinky, and then all the fish died because her feet were so stinky. That was a crazy book. Well, this is by the same author. So you know it's going to be a good book because he writes good books. And the illustrator's name is Michael Marchenko. Oh, did you hear that? Marchenko has our CH sound in it. All right, let's find out what happened in the Sand Castle Contest. Matthew's father stood in the driveway and said, I think we're ready to go. Let's make sure everything is here. Do we have the bicycles? Yes. Do we have the food? Yes. Do we have the boat? Yes. Do we have everything? Looks like they have a lot of stuff. No, yelled Matthew. No, said his dad. No, said Matthew. We don't have a dog. Dog, said his dad. We don't even own a dog. I know, said Matthew. Now would be a good time to get a dog. No dog, said his dad. Now, do we have everything? No, yelled Matthew. We didn't pack my sandbox. Matthew, said his mom, we can't bring the sandbox, but the first place we go camping will have a nice beach, and you will have lots of sand to play with. Well, said Matthew, okay. Look at how much they packed. You think they packed enough for their trip? It looks like they might have overpacked. I tend to do that when I go on a trip too. I bring too much stuff. And they did. They packed up pretty much everything in their whole house. They put on the back of their car and the camper and brought it with them for vacation. So they drove and drove and drove and drove and drove and drove until they came to a place to camp. Look at how high their stuff is stacked up on top of their car. Matthew jumped out of the van and ran to the beach. He came to a girl making a small sand castle and a big sand dog. She said, "Hi, my name is Kalita, and I'm going to win the sandcastle contest." "Wow," said Matthew. "I'm going to build a sandcastle too. What can I win?" "You can win a bathtub full of ice cream," said Kalita. "All right," said Matthew. Look at, you can see people building these really spectacular sandcastles. So Matthew made a house with doors and windows and a roof. He dug out the inside of the house so it had rooms just like a real house. He made sand tables and chairs. Ooh, chairs has our sound. And beds and a TV that had a sand show on it. Look at that. Do you see him in his bed made out of sand? And a sand table and a sand TV? He's working really hard to get all that sand in his wheelbarrow to make his sandcastle. Look at this. He's outside. Look at his house. He's painting his sand house. He's painting it. Do you see this? He's got a paintbrush there. When Matthew was almost done, Kalita came over to look at his house. She had her sand dog on a leash. "Nice sand house," said Kalita. "Really, really nice sand dog," said Matthew. "Doesn't it look like a real dog? It's made out of sand." "Doesn't it look like a real house? It's made out of sand." Who knew? A judge came by and said, "Get this house out of here. Who put this house on my beach?" "This is my sand house," said Matthew. "I made it for the sand contest." "Ha," said the judge. "I know a real house when I see one, and there are no real houses allowed on the beach." "Is it real?" "No, it's made of sand." Then he went inside and sat in a sand chair and watched a sand show on TV. Another judge came by and said, "Get this house out of here. Who put a house on the beach?" "This is my sand house," said Matthew. "I made it for the sand contest." "Ha," said the judge. "I know a real house when I see one, and there are no real houses allowed on this beach." She looks mad, doesn't she? She's angry. She's yelling at him. She went into the bedroom and looked at the sand bed. She went into the kitchen and opened the refrigerator and looked at the sand apples and the sand celery and the sand cartons of milk. Then she said, "Little boy, you've got to get this house off the beach now." "This is my sand house," said Matthew, "and I'm going to prove it." "Ha," said the judge. So Matthew went outside and with a big karate kick, he kicked that sand house right beside the door. It all turned back into an enormous pile of sand and fell right on the judges. "Help!" yelled the judges, and everyone came running and dug them out. When the judges finally came out from under the sand, they yelled, "Matthew wins! His sand house was so good that we thought it was real." "Matthew wins!" everyone yelled, and they gave him a bathtub full of ice cream. Look at how much ice cream that is. Do you think you could eat all that ice cream? I don't know. I'd like to try. I got a big ice cream like that at Disney once, and we tried and tried and tried to eat it all. We almost did. So maybe I could eat it. Matthew started eating the ice cream, and he said to Kalita, "Want to help me eat this?" "Yes," said Kalita. While they were eating the ice cream, Matthew said, "How come you didn't tell me your dog is sand? I bet you would have. How come you didn't tell everybody your dog is sand? I bet you would have won with a sand dog." "Well," said Kalita, "this is Sandy, my sand dog, and I'm going to take him camping and feed him ice cream every day, and he's going to be my pet, and I'm never going to turn him back to sand." "Wow," said Matthew. "I wish I had thought of that. Can you show me how to make one? No problem, said Kalita. Look, even the dog is eating ice cream. And Matthew's mom and dad were so happy with Matthew's amazing sand dog that, look at it, he's even doing tricks. I wish Kona could do tricks like that. They decided to take it camping with them. And look, now they have a sandbox. And they're towing it behind the car and the camper. And Matthew's in the sandbox playing with his sand dog. Look at this. The dog has a big smile on it. Can you see that big smile on the dog? You think it's very safe to be towing a sandbox behind a camper and a car and have a kid sitting in it? Where's the seatbelt? The end. It shows a picture of when Matthew met Kalita and Sandy, her sand dog. That was a fun book, wasn't it? All right, I have a song for you, boys and girls.
A fun way to practice the digraph chuck is to sing the silly rendition of Jingle Bells.
Choo 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 choo. Choo 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 choo. Choo 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 choo. Chee 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 chee. Chee 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 chee. Chee 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 chee. Cha 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 cha. Cha 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 cha. Cha 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 cha. Cha 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 cha. Chee chee cha 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 cha. Cha 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 cha. Cha 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 cha. Cha 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 cha. Chee 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 cha 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 chee cha chee cha chee. Cha 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 chee cha chee cha chee cha chee cha cha chee 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 cha 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 chee cha chee cha chee. Cha 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 chee cha chee cha chee cha chee cha. How was that? It's so fun, isn't it, boys and girls? That's a great song, isn't it? I hope you all have enjoyed Beach Week, and we'll see you next week. Next week, we're talking about kindergarten. I know that's a subject that a lot of you want to know about. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.